Hey there, I'm Mark, and I love Maryland Heights. And one of the reasons why I love Maryland Heights is there are so many people, stories, and just adventures yet to be taken. And today, I'm inviting you on an adventure with me to have a conversation with somebody who makes the world a far more beautiful, far more spectacular place. She is a specialist at making stained glass art. And so far, she has all 10 of her fingers. So handling all those sharp edges and hot metals, I rejoice to share with you, starting right now, Ashley Hundelt. Ashley, welcome to I Love Maryland Heights.
Thank you.
So I bumped into you because the church that I serve, you were doing a pop-up shop. And I guess you do pop-up shops around the area.
I do.
And you're selling what? What are those sparkly things?
I make stained glass art. I'll do 3D pieces, 2D, whatever fun, whimsical, seasonal ideas I get.
And you do a great job at seasonal stuff.
Thank you.
So if you ever Google Ashley, or you have an Etsy store, and we'll share those links in the show notes. But if you ever have the opportunity to see her at one of her pop-up shops or just to check her out online, her stained glass art is just gorgeous. So let's talk about the 2D first.
Okay.
And you're making a 2D piece that would be two-dimension, so up and down and side to side.
Flat.
That'll be like a picture of a lily, or what are some of your 2D ideas?
For seasonal, it'll be pumpkins, smaller size pumpkins. I'll make flowers, maybe a small panel that you could hang up in your window. I think I tend to stick with nature type themes.
Okay.
So maybe it'll be a small landscape.
And that's going to be tough to do, like the landscapes, because I've noticed, you don't just pick blue for water. And if there's sky, you don't just pick light blue. With stained glass, and I know there's some stained glass companies in the area that, supply, it's amazing variety of textures that you can have with glass. It's not just the color, it's feathering, it's combinations of colors.
Yeah, they have so many amazing patterns. I go to the glass workbench in St. Charles on Main Street a lot, and that's where I'll get a lot of pieces and usually veer off from course once I get in there and I see the new things that they have and just all the different colors, and a piece can look completely different until you hold it up in the light. And it might just look kind of dark and muddy, but then you hold it up to the light and there's pink and purple and blue and green. It could be mottled. There could be, they might call it streakies or wispies in there. And I love looking at all of it.
It is so cool how stained glass can make regular light just way more radiant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just red, blues, and yellows, but there's teals with blue streaking.
Yep.
Is that what it's called, or feathering?
Yeah. There's streakies, which is what one company calls theirs, is streakies. There's wisps that can, and think like wisps of clouds in the sky. That's how it'll look in the glass. There's a company called Fremont. All of their glass is hand poured. And so the texture's totally different. It cuts like butter. And it's like if you had a paintbrush and you just painted the colors into the glass. It's stunning. It's
and
pretty.
Not onto the glass, but into the glass, because painted glass is different than stained glass.
Yeah. It looks painted in the thought of that's the imagery of the brush stroke.
Right.
Like ovals in it. That's really pretty. And yeah, it's how they roll it, and they do that all by hand and spread it out. And it's really pretty.
So here at our church, we have these stained glass windows, and they don't look like images or anything. They look like the Jasper walls of paradise. So you'll see little reds, little greens, yellows. Those are bold colors. But then you'll also see the cooler colors like blues and purples. Those are bigger panels. And I love them. And there's so much art that you can do. And our stained glass windows are generally the same, except each pane, you could see varieties between the two. Like it's yellow in all of them, except for that one stained glass one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much that you can do with light. And that's just gorgeous. So with the 3D, that's three-dimensional. So that's not just like a flat panel. But I remember one time at our coffee shop, you did a bunch of pumpkins.
Yeah, I love making the pumpkin.
So they were 8 fins per pumpkin, 6 fins per pumpkin?
6.
And so those are individual half ovals, or
yes.
Cut pumpkin in half. And then you coated the edges, and then you soldered them together.
Yes.
To look like little Chinese stars, little chubby glass Chinese stars.
Yeah, I have a mold. And so I can put 2 together flat. So they're perfectly even. And then I put that in the mold. And then it's just alternating like 45-degree angles so that I can stick that in there, hold it in place, and solder at the same time, and then get them even as possible. So we have balanced pumpkins.
Right. Those were gorgeous. I saw those and I thought, oh my goodness, these are gorgeous because they were so symmetrical.
Thank you.
But I knew they were made by hand.
Yes.
That was just wild because you're using so many different mediums at that point. You're soldering, you're cutting glass. No glass is going to break exactly the same. There's going to be tiny little variations, even if you're using stencils, and then to get that metal together. So when you're looking at stained glass, there's metal that squishes the glass together. Is that lead? Is that top secret plutonium isotopes?
It's lead. The solder that I use is a 60-40 lead with tin in it. And then the soldering iron has a couple different settings. I usually have mine at like 400 degrees, and then you just melt it on there front and back. And that keeps it all together.
Get it to coat a piece of glass?
So you have to put foil on it. You put foil all around the edge, and then you use a chemical called flux, and then that helps the solder stick to it. So the solder's like a glue once you put it all back together.
So I took a jewelry class in middle school, and I loved that jewelry class. I got a bunch of junky looking jewelry that I made from the 7th grade, and my mom swears that her Texas ring is the most perfect ring in all the world, and it's Texas. It was so gaudy because it's Texas. It's not life size. It's at least third size, so it's much smaller than actual Texas. You could definitely wear it. It's very large. It's very gaudy. And I love having those things, but it was just metal. How cool is it that your craft is you're taking very delicate glass and then hard metal and putting them together? I mean, do you ever look at these pieces and go, wow, this is cool?
I think soldering is my favorite part. Really? Once it all comes back together and you can see it and like, oh, I made this. This is finally back together, because you've got all these beautiful sheets of glass. You're cutting them all up, and then you got to grind them, and you have to foil them. And when it all finally comes back together, when you can solder it and you're like, oh, I can see what I made. Like, that's my favorite part.
When you're making one of your creations, do you start off with, oh man, I hope I don't mess this up. This is a lot of work. Or do you look at it and you go, can't wait to draw out of these raw materials something beautiful?
I love making things, and I love making things with my hands and like seeing a product that I created and I made. Stained glass is a very expensive hobby. So most of the times I'm like, man, I hope I don't screw this up. Like, I hope I cut this correctly. The glass doesn't just break wherever it wants to break. It's a lot. I feel like I cross my fingers a lot. Just think, man, I hope this turns out okay.
How often does the glass break on you?
In the winter, more than I like, because it's hard to keep my basement warm enough to work on things and cut glass. So I'll pick out the glass that I want, and then I'll keep it upstairs, like in the dining room. And so hopefully it's more like 70 degrees, because I learned the hard way that you can't cut glass if it's 60 degrees or below. And then I will take it downstairs sheet by sheet and like hold it in my hands. And I might even blow on it before I cut it. And then I'll blow on it again, especially if it's a thicker piece of glass and you can't just snap it with your hands where the cut is. If you need to use a tool for that, then yeah, I kind of hold my breath and just make sure and just hope it doesn't veer off if it's maybe a little chillier than it should be. In the summer, I feel good about it. I'm like, I can do this. This is no problem. But when it gets a little colder, the glass kind of gets a mind of its own.
So something that I would like to just kind of highlight for our listeners that really sparkles for me, no pun intended, although that was pretty cool.
That was good.
With stained glass. When people are pursuing their dreams, they often hope that it's going to be easy. You know, if they're going to become a weightlifter, they hope, it's just going to be great. I'll get all the gains. Or if they're going to be a runner, they hope every run's going to feel great. Or if they're going to be like a computer programmer, they're hoping everyone is going to buy all their video games that they make on the first time around. They just, it's easy. But what I'm hearing you is you are very scrappy.
I try to be.
You're saying, hey, I need to make this. So the basin's the reasonable space. The basin's not ideal because stuff gets cold. So I find a place to keep it warm. That's the dining room. And then when I'm actually about to cut it, I'm going to hold it in between my hands and blow on it. And when you're trying to do a hobby that's scrappy like this, there's a lot of barrier to entry, a lot of barriers to success. And so most people will quit. But if you will stick it out and you'll be scrappy, come up with a solution like you're doing for your stained glass windows, your stained glass art, it makes all the difference. Like 3 years ago, I had no idea how to do podcasting. So you just start figuring it out. And, you look up the programs, you look at the microphones, you get the wrong microphone, and then you get a better one, and then you get a better one. And then you talk to somebody who does it professionally. And then he says, oh, well, you can balance it by doing this stuff. If it's important, you got to be scrappy to get it done. And eventually, you'll get something like like a handsome producer to help produce your stuff and figure all that stuff out. But yeah, I applaud your scrappiness.
Thank you.
I love that you saw problems and you just figured it out. You didn't just say, forget it.
No, I really love doing it, and it brings me joy, and it makes me really happy to see people, like if they come up to my table and like their face lights up and like, this would be the perfect gift for my mom. Like that makes me happy. I love it so much. And there's a lot of waste with stained glass. And so you don't want to make it worse by busting a beautiful piece of glass because you were careless cutting it or it was too cold. So yeah, you try to reduce that waste as much as possible, which I think has turned me into a hoarder a little bit.
So as you're cutting these big pieces, you're going to have pieces left over. What do you do with those pieces? Is it just, hey, I made my piece, throw away the scraps?
I save everything and I have it as organized as possible by about 3 different sizes. And I try to keep everything color coordinated. So the big sheets that maybe I just had like a little strip off of, they go in one area, color coordinated. And then I have basically like plastic shoe boxes where I keep the medium-sized pieces. And then the really tiny ones I have in a different area organized by color. So one thing I want to do for this summer, I'm going to be doing a 2-day market out in Wright City at the Long Row Lavender Farm in June. And a plan that I have for some of those smaller pieces is I'm going to try my hand at earrings.
Ooh,
so
great.
We can use up some of those little scraps. They'll still be beautiful and colorful. But another thing is too, if you're making jewelry with stained glass, you can't go too big because it's really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have lead-free solder to use for any kind of jewelry that I will attempt to make. So you won't have that lead hanging against your skin.
All right. So you're interesting not just because of stained glass, but you're extraordinarily interesting to me because this isn't even your job.
Mm-mm.
So you don't have like a sponsor or sugar daddy who's just like, okay,
No.
babe, do whatever you want. And I'll just keep funding your art.
My husband might disagree with that.
Well, he doesn't have a mic,
But I don't have a sponsor. No, he doesn't have a microphone right now.
but this isn't even your 9 to 5. What do you do normally when you're not working at stained glass?
I'm a real estate appraiser.
What does that mean?
I develop an opinion of value on properties. I don't do commercial work, so it's more like single family homes.
Oh, okay. So like I'm selling my house and I wonder how much it is. You
Yep.
come in,
Yep.
do all the work, figure it out and say, hey, how long have you done that?
Since 2007.
Ooh, all right. Wow, 2007. What an
Yeah.
exciting year for real estate.
Right?
Values changed a little bit the next year or two, right? So when you are appraising a house, what things are value adders in a house?
Updates, quality of construction. I spend a lot of time looking at pictures when I'm looking for comparables because if someone has a brand new kitchen and a new roof and maybe a new furnace, you're going to look at homes that have similar updates and not a house that the kitchen's from the 80s and it's got old carpet. And, you want apples and apples in that situation.
There's a lot of research to that then.
Mhm.
You don't just walk in and say, that kitchen's worth 2 or 3 cows. So what sort of things are good updates for a kitchen?
I feel like nowadays everybody, if you're going to update your kitchen, they're going to have some sort of stone countertop. I would recommend if you're updating your cabinets, just painting your cabinets doesn't exactly count. You're going to want to put in new cabinets. The white and gray is still really popular. Colors don't have any effect, so I shouldn't have said that. But good quality materials and a good quality of construction when things are being updated is very important.
What's trendier now, the big single basin sink or the split basin?
I say single.
Is that more popular?
I think so.
Okay. In our house, the second basin is just holding the dish rack.
Yeah.
So you just have it like a smaller sink to wash your dishes in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could just put that on the side of the counter, draining into the sink, and then have a big old sink to wash the pots.
We updated our kitchen a couple years ago, and I wanted a single sink because I felt like I couldn't even wash a cookie sheet in it. That was a little more acrobatic than I preferred. Water's running everywhere.
I know a lot of times people will renovate bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of things are value adders on bathrooms?
I would say picking tile over vinyl or laminate. You can update your lighting. That usually makes a huge difference for a lower cost. I can't stress enough, doing a good job putting things in makes the world a difference.
I guess whenever I looked at baby cribs, I would always shake it to see if it's sturdy. And of course, they would always put the expensive ones together really tightly because I knew this. And then the junky ones, the less expensive ones, they put together loosely. So then you're like, well, I'm not putting my kid in this death trap. So I guess the same thing happens in houses. If the counters move or if things are not well put together, people are going to notice because they're going to check it.
And it could be something that's brand new, but if it, paint slopped all over the place and the baseboards weren't put back on, it's just things like that speak to the whole condition of the property. It's noticeable.
From what you've seen, do people seem to prefer larger yards or smaller yards lately?
I think you kind of get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Okay.
I feel like when I was looking for a house and my friends were all having kids and they were moving out of, starter apartments and looking for a house, we all complained about there not being yards because we all grew up with yards. And now all these new subdivisions, they're just everybody's packed in so tight. And that was a huge complaint that I noticed we all had was the lack of yard space because we all were planning on having kids. So I got really lucky with finding our house because the yard is large, but it backs up to St. Charles Rock Road. So there is that con there. But that was something I really loved. And I was excited. I'm like, look at all this space. Like, we have a child. We can play in the backyard. There's plenty of space to do that. But that was a big pain point with a lot of my friends.
Are y'all outdoorsy people? Did you get in the backyard a lot?
We do get in the backyard a lot. We're not outdoorsy people as in we go camping. We don't do that. But yes, my child would prefer to be outside more often than not. So we go to parks a lot.
Nice. And you have playgrounds. You can see other people. There's equipment.
Yeah. He's never met a kid on the playground that is not his new friend.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's a great social skill for when he's just doing life.
It is. Yeah.
How old is your son?
6.
6? Great. So he's already got a great foundation of social skills. So when we moved into our house, almost 20 years ago, we wanted a big old yard because I figured if we have active kids, the dog, all sorts of things, we're going to be out there doing all sorts of things. So we got the biggest yard in the neighborhood. It's so big. But it turns out my 2 daughters did not really become outdoorsy people. And I'll blame that on me because as a pastor, oftentimes I'm working late. And so I don't really feel like walking out there in the dark and, let's start soccer. But my kids never really seemed to be drawn to sports. They were into dance, but they didn't really like backyard stuff.
Yeah.
And so then we got a dog, and this dog ended up allergic to outside.
Oh.
How this dog got its genetic material passed down to him. What dog?
Does he not like grass? Is he one of those dogs that doesn't like to feel the grass?
Not in the field. He would get allergic. So, he would be red and purple and almost black on his underside. And his ears would go bright red if he's outside for, longer than 5 or 10 minutes. So he'd go out, he'd go potty on the patio that I just put in by hand. And then I'd let him back in. He would just sit outside the door the whole time. And I'm like, wow. So we had a backyard that the only people who played in it was me with a lawnmower.
That's unfortunate.
And I got to cut that grass later today.
Yeah.
So I should rent it out or something like that.
You should. Can you subdivide it?
Wouldn't that be lovely? Make some money. Okay. So another thing that you do, you don't just work. I appreciate you helping people kind of figure out what updates would be good. You don't just work as a real estate appraiser and as a stained glasser. You do other stuff.
I do.
One of the things that you mentioned before we had our conversation is you teach dance.
I do.
So where do you teach that?
Laverne Meyer School of Dance in Overland.
Okay. What got you connected to Laverne Meyer School of Dance?
That's where I went when I was little. And then right when my husband and I started dating, his cousin bought the studio. She also had gone there and I had no idea. So I started, I think the first year I subbed if we needed an extra teacher here and there, but I worked the front desk and then I've been a teacher ever since.
Okay. That's snazzy. When did you start dancing?
First or second grade, I believe I started dancing.
Ashley, this is a little known fact, but our producer here, Gary, happens to be a distinguished alumni of that very same dance school.
Stop it. Are you serious? What's your last name?
Fitzgerald. I'm like 47, so I predate you a little bit. I danced there when I was young.
Who were your teachers?
I have no idea.
I bet it was Mary. Tell me again the year that you were there.
I don't know, like the mid 80s. All I remember is
I'm trying to think if who would be there.
There was a bee recital.
Okay.
At an old folks' home, and we all dressed up as bees. That was an experience.
I teach tomorrow night, so we're gonna talk to Jonna about this because I can't wait to hear about this. Yeah, she has all of them. She just did a post about like how we were in the 90s because that's something trending right now. And yeah, she's got all that stuff.
I might be wrong, but that sounds so familiar.
Oh, we'll figure this out. We're gonna find out, Carrie.
If I'm wrong, it was almost 40 years ago. So.
Just turned 47 yesterday.
Congratulations.
You made it.
Happy birthday.
If you started in the first grade, then that means you started when you were approximately 6 years old
I believe so.
and you went all the way through.
I stopped. I didn't dance at the studio in 8th grade. And then in high school, I went to PAC, the Performing Arts Center in St. Charles. My senior year, I danced in college on and off a little bit. Either I was on the collegiate dance team my freshman year, and then I took some classes my sophomore year. But once I came back home, I went to school at Lutheran High in St. Charles. And when I came home from college, I ended up coaching the dance team there for about 5 years. And then Liver and Meyer started to overlap with that. I would coach and then I would go work the desk at Liver and Meyer, and then doing both was too much. And so I ended up quitting coaching, and then I just kept on at Liver and Meyer.
What kind of dance do you like the most?
Palms. That's probably my favorite. Yeah. It's very sharp and fast, and there's like a formula to it, and the music is always so fun and upbeat, and I'm a sucker for a good costume. I usually will make a prop for the girls. There's usually some sort of crafting that happens on my end with extra costume pieces and stuff. And I mean, I will always love ballet. I will always love ballet. That'll be probably my first love. But Palms is just so fun. And I love teaching lyrical. That's probably my second favorite.
So when you're watching ballet, what makes for a good ballet?
I need a little excitement in the music. That helps. But I think at this point, a few of them are very familiar. Like Nutcracker is very familiar. And so I love the story. And I also know what the story is. Like, I wouldn't be watching it cold and thinking, what in the world is happening? Why is there some kid dressed as like the Mouse King and there's rats running around? Like, what is this? So I think I have maybe a little more biased view because most of them are just so familiar and I know the story. And I think that helps a lot when you watch ballet. Because other times it's like they just seem to be twirling around, but maybe they're not just twirling around. Maybe they're snowflakes and they're telling a different story. So I think the stories are super important with ballet.
If you watch the Nutcracker at the Fox or the same play, a different troupe at a different venue, is the dance going to be pretty much the same?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just like music where 17 minutes in, you're supposed to play a B flat. It's actually very similar as in, hey, on act 17, scene 3, it's supposed to be left foot slightly to the left and then right foot. I mean, it's choreographed.
Yes.
Okay.
It's years and years of choreography. I'm sure liberties are taken here and there. And as I'm saying this, I cannot remember which ballet it is, but there's a famous ballet where there's 32 fouettes. Like, if you're watching that, dancers know like that's going to happen. So for the most part, you are kind of seeing the same thing.
So if you're watching a play and you see like someone do this most impressive, and I don't know the words, but most impressive thing where they stand there and they stick a leg out and then they bring it back in,
that's a
leg out while they're spinning thousands of times, you know that that's just a constant piece of there. And this person is living, embodying the script.
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of cool. That actually adds to it. So then when you're watching something, you're like, wow, this person learned how to do that incredible trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also think, I bet that really hurts. Or, it always hurts my heart when you see like maybe a costume malfunction, like maybe in the Nutcracker, the crown falls off or something. I've seen that happen. And
so Palms, my wife used to do some dance, and I remember just watching some of these competitions and just hearing every so often a little bit. It seems like pom-poms are much smaller than they used to be. Back in the day, pom-poms were really long strings and
it was just really plastic. Yeah.
Tiny little things. Are there like schools of thought pom-poms should be long?
You might regret this. I prefer the silver foil pom that is 14 inches long. I don't like the tiny little stringy things. I don't like the tiny little shiny ones where it's like it barely covers your fist. I think they need to be a specific size. And when you shake them, they make noise and they move.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there is a correct size.
Otherwise, you're just wearing shiny gloves.
It's like shiny gloves. I agree. And you're missing the visual of it. There is a specific visual that you need to be accomplishing with a pom dance. And when the palms are really small, I think you lose out on a lot of that.
I'm trying to think of, if somebody is, trying to be a clown and they got that big red hair. But it's not big, it's tiny. How ridiculous would that be?
It would be ridiculous, yes.
You're just like, that's not a clown hair.
It's not
you're
right.
Wearing a skull cap. It should be big and noticeable. Like, just like, wow, that clown's feet are legitimately size 36.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing a pom-pom choreography routine, because I'm assuming you choreograph also with the kiddos, you don't just say, hey, do this.
Correct.
Okay. So when you're doing this, do you ever do like nostalgic, give me an A, give me a J, J?
I have realized that I do have go-to moves, and I think some of it is probably my own personal muscle memory from maybe other dances that I've done or choreographed. Some stuff just feels good to do it in that specific order, and I try really hard not to do that too much. I think it's fun to either spell a short word or make a object or a symbol with the palms. And for a while, I did that every other year because that would be like a fun crowd pleaser, but it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that every year. And yeah, just trying to make sure I'm not creating the same thing.
When you're picking your songs, do you pick super classic songs? Do you pick much newer songs? Or do you like kind of surprising your audience and picking both?
It depends on the theme. Last year, we did one-hit wonders and awesome covers. And one of my palm dances was Whoop, There It Is. And that was so fun. I do think I normally lean towards newer songs because I think the kids get into it a little more. But just kind of depends. Just depends on what fits the best and what... When I hear the song, I can start to see choreography. I need that help. I can't just pick any song. If I don't like it, that's really hard for me to choreograph too.
I always think it's neat when the kids are doing dances to songs that were cool when their parents were kids. So that way when the parents are listening, they're like, oh, this is groovy. Yeah, cool. They're doing a new fun song. And it's like, it's not new if they're playing it at the grocery store.
Yeah. It was really fun last year because we did so many older songs and standing in the wings of the stage, and like I could see a good portion of the audience, and they were dancing in their seats to some of them, and that was so fun, and the audience participation was great.
Were any of the people in the audience using ridiculously undersized pom-poms?
No, they don't. They don't have props for the audience, so
you might get thrown out for that.
I would want to. Yeah, I've been badgering the owner lovingly, I think. Like, we need new palms. And she's like, okay, Ashley. So then I started researching because they're not cheap.
I know, yeah. Especially when you multiply it times all the people on your team.
Yeah. And, maybe you have 9 this year, but next year you might have a class of 13. So you just need to get all of them. But they do expire. They do have a good life, and then they're done. Especially the silver ones. I think one of my good friends called them this. She would say they become like fry kids. They get all crunchy and tighten up, like especially towards the middle where the oils on your hand are. Like they don't stay long and shiny and maybe just a little crinkly. Like they get crunchy.
Could you do stained glass pom-poms?
I thought about it. I actually have a couple things that I've saved that I found a pattern of. I thought, oh, maybe I'll make that for the dance studio. And I haven't yet, but...
Can you actually make your own pom-poms?
Can I make what?
Can you actually make your own pom-poms?
Yes. One year, you take trash bags and you cut off the ends, and then you cut strips inward, but you leave maybe like 3 inches, and then you get duct tape and you wrap it real tight around the middle. One year, I did a palm dance, and there are palms that light up. I can't find them, but I swear they exist. I know I've seen them somewhere. And I decided I'm going to make my own. So I bought strips of LED light and I layered it in between the palms. And then I taped it so the switch was right where their thumbs would be. And I had them turn them on and off like twice during the dance. And then we had it set up with the fluorescent civic center, God bless those people, to turn the lights on and off at just the right time. So the palms would come on. I was beside myself. It was really fun.
I love this about you.
Are you regretting asking about dance?
No, this is fascinating. You just got 6 more levels of interesting there. And I just want to say, to our listeners, if there's somebody who is doing something crafty, like a pop-up shop, the chances are they're pretty scrappy. They're going to figure out whatever it takes to get stuff done. Yep. And they're probably not just going to be artistic in whatever that way is. They probably don't just make honey. They probably don't just make hot sauce. They probably don't just make skincare products. They probably don't just brew their own bourbon or make their own stained glass or whatever it is. They probably have lots of fascinating things. So just try to get them off topic and ask them about all sorts of other things. And you can learn all sorts of other things. Like I now know how to make pom-poms.
Yeah.
And that is scrappy, Ashley.
I don't remember where I learned those, but yeah, and I mean, you can Google it. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I added some tulle in there for stiffness and color, and
Brilliant.
you can make them pretty snazzy. One of the girls made them one year with tissue paper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those wouldn't last as long as trash bags.
Nope.
But it would make noise. And it'd be pretty, all sorts of colors.
And they kept their shape.
Okay. So you are very scrappy. And if anybody wanted to see some of your scrappy ideas and maybe get something from Mom, they can find you. I know you have a store on Etsy. So they just look you up on Etsy, and we'll have this in the show notes how to get there. But is there somebody, if they're just like, hey, I want to look it up right now?
The Ashley Hundelt is the shop name.
Okay.
I was trying to come up with some kind of clever like glass and light and joy, and anything I came up with was already taken. So it's just my name.
You know what is not already taken? Trash bag pom-poms.
I should claim it now.
You should probably do that before this airs.
I wonder how much money I would make if I jumped on some dance groups and was like, I can make you palms.
I would hope you would get all the money.
I mean,
except
probably
for the money
be very busy.
Except for the money that I have.
I mean, that's understandable. Not everybody needs trash bag palms, and I understand.
Don't they, though?
They should, but they might not know that they need them.
I think no one is ever too old to dance. And even if you just like turned 47 years old as a man, it's never too late to just pick up dancing. And what better way to give somebody that hint than to buy them their very own set of light up pom-poms?
We can do that. And you know what? There's also adult classes at Laverne Meyer. So that said 47 man could come at any time and take ballet or yoga or jazz or tap.
Oh, okay. So question on that. I watched Riverdance. It's amazing. I watched Stomp. I don't even know if they're still a band anymore or still a group. I'm sure there's somebody doing that or something like it. But, you know, they'll take brooms and make swishing sounds on the ground. They'll beat trash cans. They'll put like fluorescent paint on things. And they're just banging things. And like, even if it's just Riverdance, and I don't mean to disrespect to just Riverdance as opposed to Riverdance and banging trash cans, but that stuff is fascinating. Tap dance, it's fascinating. Especially when people go like super fast.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever tap?
Yes.
Are you pretty good?
No. Not that great.
Too bad this isn't a video podcast.
Right?
Yet. We could challenge you and we can get you a pair of
Me and Gary.
It would be a showdown.
It would be. Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. We need to get him back in tap.
That would be fantastic. It'd be like dancing with the Gary. It'd be a competition. Can you out dance Gary?
Yes, you probably.
I think that'd be a fun idea. We could workshop.
But there would have to be like a handicap or like a toggle switch. You know, you'd get extra points because now that you're a 47-year-old man, you know, you'd actually get more points for the effort that you're doing because
This would be the walking tapper. Or you use a walker and have probably tapper pull a mess.
shake your walker back and forth. All right. So are there any others like artistic projects that you are involved in? You got stained glass. You know how to make a house look good. You know how to, what makes a house look good. And you make your own pom-poms and dance. Are there any other artistic outlets that you have had over time?
Well, I hate to admit this, but I did declare I was never going to make another set of palms again. So I feel like I should put that out there. I made clown ties for the craft for the father-daughter dance that we just had in a manual. So that was a fun little side quest. And my upcoming craft project for the dance studio is I'm going to be glittering some apples. We're going to have a cauldron in my oldest lyrical dance. And we've got permission to use dry ice. And so it's going to be like a poisoned apple situation. So they're going to go in red and then they're going to come out black. But I have to glitter everything. So that's
Brilliant.
a must.
Some people hate glitter, but I love it. I think it should be everywhere.
I agree.
And once you put it somewhere, it gets everywhere.
It's going to be everywhere.
But I think it should be everywhere in abundance.
It's very fun. I even asked one of the seniors, I said, I kind of want to glitter them now, but I feel like we should wait. And she did a slow head turn to me and she said, I hate to say this to you, but I think you should wait. I'm like, yeah, that's probably right. Because I'd be sweeping up glitter after every class.
Every class. And then parents would complain, my car's full of glitter, to which you would like to say, you're welcome.
Exactly. You're welcome.
I'm sorry you were such a dried out old
It's just a little
Ebenezer Scrooge bah humbug, but now you're welcome.
It's just a little sparkle. So
what does it take to run a shop on Etsy? 'Cause
Nice
that's another
pictures.
part of being scrappy, to just figure out how to do that. That's an online marketplace.
Mhm.
And it goes directly to you. Like, what does it take to do that well? What work?
I think the best thing you can do is have nice photos. You get charged per listing that you put up, but you know, you put in the right keywords and you have a nice description. I mean, it's a good design layout. It's a good template for you. I feel like I don't take the best pictures. And that's something that I kind of hesitate with because people's computer screens look different and colors look different on people's phones. And so I worry about that. If I do have something in my Etsy shop, like, oh, will this look like the right blue? Like, is this the most accurate picture that I can have to represent this? But it's easy. It's easy to use.
Did you watch YouTube videos? Did you read articles? Did you talk to people? Does Etsy have a lot of tutorials?
I'm pretty sure I Googled it. There's a lot of AI on Etsy now, and a lot of artists are speaking up about that and how that should be filtered and regulated more. And it shouldn't just be a drop shop. You shouldn't just be able to put whatever on there. And I guess there not be any consequences. Like, I bought a pattern actually for your wife. I was going to make her a hedgehog, a stained glass hedgehog. And I wasn't thinking about the seller. It's not a real stained glass artist. It's someone that's just cranking out patterns. And when you make stained glass, it's really important that the structure is sound, or, like, you can't have a line directly across the middle. Like, that's not structurally sound. And so I buy a lot of patterns still because I don't trust that I know enough to make my own patterns correctly, and bought it, printed it off, and I went to start working on it. I'm like, this is AI. This was not created by someone who makes stained glass. Like, the cuts weren't right and funky stuff. Things are in weird places. I'm like, you literally can't cut glass like that. And I have a ring saw. And so you can do trickier cuts. But even then, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't how you would do it. So I got kind of bamboozled with that. And so a lot of people are saying, like, there should be more. That should be regulated. You shouldn't just be able to put up whatever you want. Like, this is supposed to be made by hand website. Marketplace where you can buy and sell things. So there's a lot of talk about that going on right now. I know I researched other places and researched, well, how much would it be to load up listings on this website? And I know there's a newer one now that people are starting to talk about more that I was going to look into, and just kind of keep options open. But I mean, with having a 9-to-5 and being a mom and teaching dance, I don't get to make stained glass as much as I want. So I also don't have a massive stash of things that I thought, oh, I need to get these on Etsy. If I do a market every once in a while, I just save it for that so people can see it in person.
And I would definitely encourage people to Google you and find you and try to be with the places that you are just to see your stuff, because it's amazing. You are right. Whenever I walk up to the table that you have filled up for your pop-up shops, I love every piece.
Thanks.
And you even have like a box that you can kind of go through a lot of the flat pieces, but your three-dimensional work, Ashley, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Thanks.
People should check out your Etsy page just to see the cool ideas that you make. Like, I've gone to the glass workbench in St. Charles, and where you mentioned earlier, and I'll look at the different pieces and I go, wow, a human made that. And it's just phenomenal to see the pieces that you make, because they're not crazy expensive.
I try not.
They're very affordable considering how much work and effort you put into that, and that it is handmade. It's not just made out in some machine far abroad, in a slave labor shop or a sweatshop or something like that. I mean, a person put this together. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't AI. It wasn't a factory line. And there's just one like that. And so that's something I really appreciate your artwork, that each piece, there may be ones like it, but you have the only one like this, because the glass is always varied and you can see where you wrap the metal. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Thanks.
You make the world a much better place. Hey, so something I wanted to ask you. I know you said you went to Laverne's School of Dance, Laverne Myers School of Dance, when you're in first grade. And then you went to Lutheran High School in St. Charles. The school was a bit younger back then, because they started, I think, in the 90s. What class were you?
I graduated in 2002.
From high school? 2002. Okay, cool. I graduated college in 2001, and then I started the seminary in 2002. I'm also about to be 47. I'm only 46. I got this older friend who is 47.
Yeah.
Just turned 47.
It's a lot older.
You would think so, but this guy makes it look good.
Yeah.
But that means that you have lived in St. Louis your entire life?
Yeah.
Did you go to college here in St. Louis?
Truman State. So in Kirksville,
okay,
3 hours away.
Okay. So a question that I like to ask our people, just because our audience is pretty divided. What are your thoughts about Provel cheese?
I like Emos.
Which is the thin crust Provel
thin
cheese
crust.
pizza.
Provel cheese. I am not a cheese on a salad kind of person, so I would not buy Provel to put on a salad. And I feel like that's a big divider for people. If you like Provel, you like it, period, you're going to put it on everything. But I'm just not a cheese on salad person anyway, so I don't do that.
Do you like dressing on your salads?
Yes, I'm a ranch girl. I like ranch a lot, but I don't think I eat Provel in anything else unless it would be in a pasta somewhere, like a lasagna or something. But I am not anti-Provel.
So you would eat it if somebody were like, to try to be malicious, was going to trick you and slide some Provel into your lasagna. And then they're like, ha ha ha, got you. You ate Provel.
Joke's on you. I like it. It'll be, that wouldn't bother me. What about toasted raviolis?
Yeah, toasted ravioli, Fitz's root beer, gooey butter, anything.
Okay.
Oh,
So you're just drawing the line at the cheese, not like St. Louis lore, food lore in general, just the cheese.
and that's saying something. So I'm from Texas, and there's even songs about how Texas is the promised land. And so we came here to St. Louis, and I really appreciate all the local flair and all the things. And every time I see the arts, in my mind, I think, hey, it's like the lunchbox handle of God. Like he's going to work and he grabs the world by the lunchbox handle. Do. But it's not like derogatory. It's just like, hey, that's cool. We are the only one.
Okay.
We're the only one with a lunchbox handle in the world. And I mean, I love St. Louis. And of course, I have two St. Louis kids, and I want to live out my days here in St. Louis. I love Maryland Heights. And, just St. Louis, it's a great place. It's just the Provel cheese.
Okay.
You know what you've never heard of? Texas-style pizza doesn't exist.
I know you say there's no such thing as Texas-style pizza, but you're wrong. It's called 2-pound steak.
I thought you were going to say like the Mexican pizza from Taco Bell, but I don't even think they make that anymore.
So on Taco Bell, I don't hate Taco Bell. I actually really enjoy Taco Bell, but I realize I don't expect it to be like authentic Mexican food.
No.
Like it can be its own thing.
Yeah.
But there are some people who are purists. Like it's gotta be like made with lard and fresh ingredients. And,
Oh, no.
and I'm like, then that's not Taco Bell.
No.
But I think as it stands, as it is, it's tasty food. It's not healthy, but I mean, what fast food is healthy? Another thing I don't understand about St. Louis is White Castle. I do not understand. Not my favorite.
Do you have Crystals in Texas?
No.
It's White Castle, no onions, with mustard. The driest, grossest thing you'll ever taste. So you don't have the other one. Feel bad for you.
You feel bad that we don't have it.
I don't understand how even people from here, they love White Castle. Everybody says it makes them sick.
Right.
Everybody. But there's still like once in a blue moon, you'll hear somebody say, I know I'm going to regret it, but I could really go for some White Castle. Like it just has that hold on us, I feel.
I don't understand it. I just understand because, I don't have anybody who said, I went to White Castle and I was so thankful. Why go? There's so many other choices. It's not like it's either cook at home or go to White Castle. It's
True.
just, I'm going to eat White Castle and I'm going to hate it. So why go?
I will say when I was in high school, after the football game, we would all go out after the football game. Those were the best cheese fries I've ever eaten. I would get the cheese fries and a chocolate shake, and it was the most delicious thing. I have no idea the last time I had that, and especially that combo, but that used to be, I thought they had the best cheese fries.
Glorious. Earlier, we were talking about how, as an artist, you have all sorts of artistic outlets.
Mm-hmm.
And stained glass and dance, it's not just like free expressionism. It's, they follow rules.
Yes.
And it's artistic. It's beautiful. But it follows rules. Like you said earlier, how if you're going to do the Nutcracker, 28 minutes into the Nutcracker, it's going to be very similar choreography.
Yeah.
All the way across. And it struck me because I have also heard that you are on the altar guild for your church. So a shout out to the mother church of the church I serve, Zion. Shout out to the mother church where you're a member of at Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Emmanuel Lutheran in Olivet, Missouri. And it's a great church. I know a lot of the staff and people who go there. It's just a great church.
I think they all come here for coffee.
They
I regularly see someone from Emmanuel here.
They really do.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a really neat partnership. But and one of your Emmanuelians, they actually work at our coffee shop. So I've heard that you are on the altar guild at Emmanuel, which just is like the stained glass window and the dancing because it's artistic, it's beautiful, but it follows rules.
Yes.
So it is.
Rules.
So it is blue for 3 or 4 Sundays, and then you have Christmas, which is white and gold, and you've got different patterns on that. And then it goes green, and then you've got a black or a blank, and then you've got purple, and then you've got a red or white, and then you've got black or nothing again, and then you've got white for Easter, and then it's green for, it seems like 600 Sundays a year, that long season of Pentecost. How long have you been on the altar guild?
I don't know, but Natalie would know. Years. It's been a couple
10 years?
years. Maybe.
That's cool.
I'm not sure.
I love when people are church volunteers. They don't know. They're just like,
I don't know.
is it just what I do? I don't know.
I think my mom was like, come do this with me. And I said, okay. I don't even remember. I was an usher at church for a long time too.
Nice. And that means you put all the altar colors on there, but then also you're getting ready for communion and everything.
Yes, I help set up communion and clean up after communion.
When you clean up after communion, that means like putting the bread away and then refilling the trays and stuff like that. Do you all have
Everything's clean.
Do you all have a common cup there at Emmanuel? Do you also have the individual cup options?
Yes.
Which is more popular?
I think the individuals.
Some churches are individual cup only, and some churches are common cup only. But I think it's ideal if you offer both, because there are people who grew up with one or the other. They have very strong feelings about doing one or the other. So then for you, as a common cupper or individual cupper, you prefer the individual cup?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm torn. I like the idea of common cup.
I do too.
But the individual cup, it seems a bit more hygienic.
I agree.
But before anybody hates on us, it's odd how there are no stories of entire congregations coming down with some plague, even if they have a common cup. So whatever it takes, God is just making it work. So actually, thank you for being such a fascinating person. Thank you for not just having like one thing that you're good at, but then sharing just all sorts of stories and all sorts of your creative endeavors. If you are looking for Ashley and you want to take some of her artwork home, and I gotta say, they do make great gifts for like Mother's Day.
Thank you. Yep.
Some of her cooler like macho stuff for Father's Day. Birthdays are great. And I guarantee you there's no grandparent alive who would not enjoy getting some really cool stained glass art from their grandkiddo, even if mom and dad are buying it for them to give it to them. But check Ashley Hundelt out on Etsy, and we'll put these in the show notes so you can easily find her shop on Etsy, and just look and see if you are ever in the area to see if she has a pop-up shop going on in the area.
That I post on Instagram. So my Instagram is the Ashley Hundelt as well, and I do a better job at keeping an announcement, I guess, going of where I'll be next on there.
That is very helpful. I appreciate you putting that on there. And we'll put those in the show notes. Try to put some links in there to make sure that people can find you on both Etsy and Instagram. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for our chat, sharing all your creative endeavors and all the things that you just love to do. We will share all of your links, Etsy and Instagram, on there so people can see your treasures that you have to offer, and then also your Instagram place so that way people can find you where you're going to go next, because nothing is as fascinating artistically as walking up to your pop-up shop and just seeing all these really cool features that people can bring home and enjoy.
Thank you.
So thank you for being a part of Maryland Heights, and thank you for being a major part of why I love Maryland Heights.
Thanks for having me.
So actually, you said if somebody listened all the way to the end of our awesome conversation that you were going to do something special for them. What is that?
Yeah, so I will be at Long Row Lavender Market. They are having a Spring Makers Market, June 5th and June 6th from 10 to 3. That's out in Wright City. If you come see me on either one of those days and you are the first one to say, I listened to your I Love Maryland Heights podcast, you will get a very special free stained glass treasure.
Glorious.